Welcome back to the Retro Game Redux podcast, first episode of 2024. My name is Scuba Saul.
And I'm Kirblet.
I'm here with Kirblet, and
Yeah.
we are doing this live on YouTube for the very first time. So welcome all you YouTubers.
Welcome. Hello.
Yeah, it was
Scuba,
time to.
How was your Christmas and New Year's?
It was very lovely, Kirb. I had a lot of fun doing some gaming with my nephews. We played some. They played an online game for the first time. It was
wow!
A little something called EAFC 24. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's pretty popular, apparently.
No, I've not heard of that.
Okay, well, it's a soccer game. It's basically FIFA, but it's the new FIFA.
Oh, that makes sense. EA and then probably Football Club or something like that.
Yeah, so I played that for the second time, but it was, the first time was by myself. Second time was with my two nephews, who are 6 and 9, and both of them just they just like whooped my ass so fiercely. I was secretly pretty livid, but I was also very proud of them because
I was about to say, I hope you're proud. It's like, come on, you're kind of passing the torch in that respect.
Well, my torch was never lit, but their torches are burning brightly. Nice. So yeah, it was fun playing that game. Side note, that game has this manager mode. Have you ever done manager modes in like sports games?
Yes, definitely. They're plentiful, I should say. They are plentiful in games like that.
Yeah. So what my impression of that is, okay, so you have to do not only like manage your strategy, your coaches, your player roster, but you also have to like hire staff, hire scouts. Yep. You have to manage a youth development program, answer emails, negotiate contracts. I'm like, this seems like a full-time job. I don't think this is gaming
why
anymore.
Aren't you getting paid for this?
Exactly. You're paying to do it.
Shoot, get the big bucks. Manage your teams in this game. Come on.
Yeah. If EA wants to come to me and say, hey, maybe you could manage one of our teams and we'll pay you like a salary, I'm into that. But until then, right. I'm just gonna, get whooped by my two nephews.
I suppose that'll have to do.
How was your holidays?
It was not as fun-packed as yours, mind you, but it was pretty decent. Actually, I kind of celebrated Christmas a bit early as I went up to visit my grandfather and uncle, and basically my family about a week before. To celebrate my grandpa's 90th birthday.
Wow, 90.
Yes, the big 90, yeah. So that was really special, and we actually got to see our uncle's new house that he had built. So it was kind of a...
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. All the cousins were there. My dad was there and all. So it was great. I got to see my nephews too, which I'll never pass up an opportunity to also spend time with them too.
Has your 90-year-old grandfather ever played a video game?
I think, it was partially. This is actually a great story. He was definitely into video games, particularly more inclined to PC games. Yes, and I got into a lot of electronics and gadgets and stuff as a result of my grandparents, as well as my dad.
Very cool. Do you remember
I lived with them for about 5 months back in the mid-90s. I had some like their computer to kind of keep me busy and occupied in very rural North Missouri. So
Yep. Any games you remember playing with Gramps?
Yes, 2 in particular games. One of them, they were both like fighter airplane games.
Yeah,
the F-117A and the F-15 games.
I played those.
My dad's a fighter pilot, now retired from the Air Force.
Okay, so here we go.
Yeah, a little bit of showing
connection.
His pride for my dad, so to speak.
Very, very cool. Well, I'm glad you had a great holiday, and here we are in a brand new year.
Exactly.
Brand new things for the podcast. We're moving to YouTube, and we've just moved in. We barely
Yes.
unpacked, and here we are. So so far, everything seems to be running fine.
Yeah,
And
no issue so far.
we're just now at the mercy of a different algorithm. So that's fun. We're going to talk about a few things. I'm just going to go over quickly what we're talking about today, just before we start. We're going to talk about ROM hacking in a sense of improving the quality of life for players of retro games, bringing them into the new sort of into the nowtro of things. We're going to talk about the most unexpected thing that I don't think anyone who knows me would have on their bingo card. I played a Sonic game of my own free will, and it was Sonic 3. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Curb learning to Kaizo.
Something I never thought I'd be doing. So, I mean, talk about you playing a Sonic game. I thought I'd never play a Kaizo until now.
We're going to talk about Chivos. If you don't know what a Chivo is, then you're about to find out. And finally, what I've been really looking forward to is we're going to go through our favorite retro games, favorite retro reimaginings and redevelopments of 2023. Some of the favorite games that we've played over the course of the year. And finally, we're going to look forward to the coming year and see what's next for us and our lives in gaming and our goals and our resolutions.
Sounds like a plan.
So, Curb, why don't you kick us off?
Well, so as you kind of mentioned at the beginning here, quality of life ROM hack. So basically, what is that? Well, as gaming has come a long way from the early days, game developers started introducing online updating, which basically meant that your games could be continuously updated. And that isn't always the case, though, however, especially when it comes to retro games for like the older consoles, where about the only way you could fix bugs is either releasing a revised version or just waiting for the sequel, basically.
Yeah, and some games have done that. Like, I know there's a couple different versions of Ocarina for the N64, and some other carts that were widely popular have had bug fixes in later editions. But for the most part, retro is basically get it right the first time, or forever deal with the consequences of the bugs and the things that sort of they become part of the game, whether you like it or not.
Precisely. Street Fighter 2 comes to mind with that. With the different versions of Street Fighter that have been out there. Not only was it like new features, but also bug fixes and tweaks and stuff like that, which later games would just simply put in as a quick update. And it wasn't the case back then.
Any that you remember specifically with Street Fighter?
Yes. My childhood friend that I lived next door to, had all the different versions of Street Fighter. There was Street Fighter Championship Edition, but the ones that really stuck out to me was Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Right.
And that it added the ability to alter the speed. So you can go kind of slow or you can go really fast.
Yeah.
As far as the clock speed went. And then you would... there was also some bug fixes, allows you to play more than one character where you couldn't in the original, and stuff like that. A lot of quality of life was introduced in Turbo and Super Street Fighter series.
Yeah. So I mean I remember all the different versions of Street Fighter, and I remember actually when I played through the SNES version last year, and I think I played as Chun-Li, and I found it way easier with the Turbo. I don't know why. It was just like the I was getting more special moves off with that with a faster speed for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if you had that same experience.
I'm not sure. I think and you didn't change the difficulty on that, right?
Nope.
It was just kind of how it was baked in.
Yeah, I put it up to 4, and then all of a sudden it felt like a modern game.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had that same experience, more than likely because I wasn't as skilled as you probably were back then. Because
you're flattering me.
with my friend, the relationship with me and my friend back then was he was the one who was always whipping my butt, and I was
Yeah.
always the underdog when
Right.
it came to fighting games.
Okay, so what is happening now? How are we getting past like, because the greatest, the biggest selling games have had the chance to do revisions and
Mhm.
updates, but for the rest of the games who were left in the dust, what's going on now?
Well, when the developer leaves games like that in the dust, it comes to a great source, which is the communities that still support these games. And specifically, it comes to either ROM hacks or mods, depending if you're going from playing a 2D or 3D game.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's basically hacking the ROM in a 2D game and implementing bug fixes, fixing glitches, texture corrections, stuff like that. Things that help improve the quality of the game without compromising anything.
Right.
Some big improvements that I've seen in some games are stuff like mapper or chips. You may be familiar with mappers or
I don't know what a
integrating
mapper
different
is.
chips.
I know it like there's some chips like
Mhm.
SNES games had some extra chips in some cases.
Mhm,
But
yes.
what's a mapper?
Mapper is basically a chip that was kind of introduced in NES games. There are multiple different mappers available that kind of handle where information is stored on a chip and how it's accessed on the
Oh,
ROM.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, think of it like a brain
Yeah.
of sorts.
So
And so people with games like Mega Man and Mega Man 2 will have ROM hacks that allow you that change it to different, more efficient mappers that make things more stable.
what's the end result with like how is Mega Man 2 more stable?
Mega Man 2 is more stable, less in the way that it fixes a lot of lag issues that
Oh,
happen that
okay.
can pop up.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes some enemies will kind of pop in and out multiple times
Yeah.
as you progress through the map.
The Ninja Gaiden effect.
Yes, that'll fix that. So some of the mapper fixes will
See,
allow more than original allotted amount of sprites
right.
to appear on a
Oh,
screen at
okay. Oh,
once.
you're talking about not spawning enemies, but like how they have to split frame draws between different sprites.
That's correct, and allows
Okay. Yeah, so
it
that's
to
not the Ninja
be
Gaiden. That's
yeah,
the
no.
Super Dodgeball effect. Have you ever played Super Dodgeball for the NES?
Oh, it's been so long since I played that game.
Yeah. It draws at about 4 frames per second when you have like 2 entire teams on the
Right,
screen.
right.
So it's
So yeah,
basically
there's a
unplayable. Other games,
yeah.
though, like I know that somebody did one of those hacks, one of those quality of life improvement hacks for Super Ghouls and Ghosts, which is one of my favorite games. Um,
Okay.
and I don't think I could get through the game if there wasn't slowdown. Like that's a survival mechanism in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Sometimes that slowness is to your advantage.
Yeah. So okay. So we've talked about ROM hacks. What about mods?
Mhm.
Any mods of note that have improved some older games?
For 3D games, probably the biggest examples that people will cite is Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and these are quite infamous in the community because Bethesda games have had this I don't know reputation of somewhat releasing not quite finished products and then trying to update them later.
Yeah.
And then the community comes in with better fixes, better ways to do things.
Yeah.
One of the most infamous mods for Skyrim is one I installed day one before I even ever played the game. Was the thing called Sky UI,
Mm-hmm.
which changes the user interface of Skyrim in
Okay.
a way that when you're interacting with different objects, inventory, stuff like that, the original is just a mess. It's hard to use. It's confusing. And Sky UI mod just takes that and fixes a lot of the problems and makes it much more manageable and just easier. Just the biggest quality of life update.
Very cool. Very
Hmm.
cool. Any other ones that you have experience with that people might want to know about?
Um, as far as mods, I haven't experimented too
or
much.
hacks, quality of life, anything.
Yeah, a lot of quality of life stuff that I've seen is kind of more experience in the stuff like fixing glitches for me. Like Mega Man 2,
Right.
there's a mod that I was trying out just a little bit where it fixed lot of the glitching and what's we're looking for the sprite draws. Kind of fix
Yeah.
them, make things more stable.
Right.
Just it's just little things here and there to just make it just a little bit better each time.
Well, let me tell you about one that I've been playing because,
Oh,
yeah, we're talking about a game that I kind of didn't like when I first played it. And I didn't play it as a kid, so you'll have to
okay,
forgive me because I don't have the I wasn't indoctrinated with this game,
okay.
and I don't have a lot of experience with this game, so I'm kind of bad at it. But this old game, you
Yeah.
may know, called Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Oh, yes. I have some fond memories of those games.
Well, my memories of that game begin in about 2020.
2020.
That's the first
Gotcha.
time I ever played Sonic 3. And yeah, like it was brutally difficult for a player like me who didn't really grow up with Sonic, and it's Sonic is a beast, right? To learn
Right.
the move sets, and there's a lot of memorization of like specific sort of gotcha moments, like sort of set scene kind of moments in the stages where if you're not looking out for it, like unless you can react in a couple frames, you're going to take damage. You're going to lose your rings. You might die. Um,
Land on spikes
yeah,
when you
because the
think you're
the
safe and you're not.
game it moves really fast.
Hmm.
But it is a great game. It's one of the all time great retro games that so many people have fond memories of. Many people consider it to be the best 2D Sonic. So there's a community, a bunch of folks that got together and said, "We love
Hmm.
this game, but there's some things that we wish were different, and
Okay.
also we have different screens that we play on now that run at different resolutions.
Hmm.
A lot of people are playing on PCs, so they made something called Sonic 3 A.I.R, and A.I.R stands for Angel Island. What is it? Angel Island Revisited.
Okay.
So Angel Island Revisited, basically, it takes the laundry list of bugs and inconsistencies and you know uh, sort of community wish lists and just implements them all. So we're talking graphics, we're talking gameplay, we're talking
Nice.
sound, new modes, and
New modes.
yeah, I fired it up, and it's not like a ROM hack in the traditional sense of like patch the
Mhm.
ROM and play it through an emulator,
Yeah.
because you can actually you download the game, and the game exists for PC, Mac, Linux, and Android, if you can believe it.
Okay. So it's
So
kind of closer to a port.
almost, but it needs the base ROM.
Okay.
So you have to provide your own base ROM, and what they suggest is the legally obtained. We joke a lot about legally obtained backups, but you can actually legally obtain a ROM through Steam, or you used to be able to.
Okay.
You could get the Sonic 3 and Knuckles ROM,
Oh wow.
and so basically you just point the program at the ROM, and it will sort of make the game for you.
Okay.
And so you fire it up, and the first thing I noticed, it looks beautiful because it's in widescreen, which fits modern monitors.
And we're taking
Uh,
a look at that right here on the screen.
yeah,
For those who are on our YouTube channel, we're playing video on the as we're streaming here.
right. So here's some things about this hack. Here's
Mhm.
what it does. First
All
of
right.
all, widescreen. You
Yep.
have a remastered soundtrack, so
Mhm.
you can actually use the original soundtrack or the remastered one. And the
Oh,
remastered one just
nice.
sounds way better. Like it's the stereo field is wider. It's a better mix, I feel like, but it's not too far off from the original. It's what you remember. And I didn't even know I was listening to the remastered one until I found the option to switch between that and the original.
So when
So
you say remastered soundtrack, are we talking like new instrumentals, or is it just a better mix overall of the different elements
I
of
think
the
they took
original?
the initial like individual channels of
Okay.
the original and just mixed them. So mixed
Okay.
them, and you know, when you mix something, you can EQ it, you can compress it, you can widen it. So a lot of the tracks are wider in the stereo field, which is a cool thing to do in video games because a lot of the sound effects are in mono; they're right up the middle, and so it's a greater. It gave me sort of a greater separation between the sound effects and the music in the game. That's what I
Gotcha.
noticed. And I got to say, like the sound design in Sonic is excellent. Like the sound effects especially are probably some of the most intricate and well crafted sound effects that I ever heard. And I only
No.
really noticed it playing the hack. Um Here's one of the greatest features of this hack is you can adjust the camera. And my problem with Sonic is like, you know, I always talk about it unless you have insane like young person reaction time, which I waved bye to me a long time ago.
Which probably I don't even have anymore either. Yeah.
Right. So unless you have that, you're going to get hit by something, you know, coming to you from just off screen. So what you can do in this hack is use, I think one of the Sonic games, like it's either Sonic CD or like a later Sonic, would
Mm.
actually, it would pan the camera a little in front of you as you ran. So you'd be able to see,
Oh.
yeah, because like, you know, if you're watching this gameplay, Sonic is basically in the middle of the screen the entire time.
Mhm.
And as you start to go faster, you get a little more room in front of you, which takes advantage of the widescreen that we have access to. So you
I was
can
about to
see
say,
what's
yeah, it takes a huge advantage of it for sure.
it's great. But there's another way you can do it because some people are like, I like the Sonic where there's a Sonic game where you kind of start to outrun the camera as you run faster. And
Oh.
that's more exciting, you know. And if you're really good at the game, it's like you know what's coming. You're already ready to get out of the way. So there's that. The other thing I really liked is it took advantage of my video card because it can do OpenGL rendering, and
Okay,
it
cool.
has unlocked frame rate. So I'm playing this game. What you're seeing now was actually running internally at 144 frames a second.
Nice.
Yeah, so super cool. The biggest advantages I like, because as you can see, I'm not very good at the game still.
Yeah.
It did make me better. It's like when you buy like a new pair of Jordans and you're like, okay, now I can play basketball. But really, it's not the shoes.
No.
So I'm still bad at the game, but what it allows you to do is turn on infinite lives and infinite time, which I think is actually the best way to play a Sonic game, at least for the first time because there's
Nice.
so much backtracking in this game. You know, I originally didn't have the infinite lives mode on. I was like, you know, I'm a gamer. I don't need this. But if you die in like 2-2, then you're going back to 2-1 and you have to do that whole stage again, which you've already completed.
Yeah.
And modern games don't usually work like that
No.
anymore. So, you know, whether it was like that in the 90s or not, like for me, it just feels more natural to just play it like this.
I mean, back in the 90s, there was a huge arcade,
Yeah,
focused mindset on these kind of games
yeah,
too. So
yeah.
there was kind of an incentive in that way to make it feel like you were
Right.
playing in an arcade too.
Um, can I tell you about one of the most welcomed quality of life improvements gameplay
I would
wise?
love to hear it.
Okay, so you know this game, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and so you remember the Sandopolis world
I do, yes.
and those ghosts
Oh,
and how
God.
annoying they are?
They would annoy the crap out of me. Yes, I
Well,
know that pain.
there's literally an option to just turn those ghosts off.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
which is great. The other thing that's crazy is that like, and I didn't notice this because I'm not so familiar with the game, but you'd probably notice it if you check it out. Is
Okay.
there's slight little level design tweaks. So the levels are basically as is, but there's a few little quality of life tweaks that you may notice when you play it. I
Okay.
certainly didn't notice, but what I did notice is you're seeing it right now. The bonus stages, they all run in 60 frames a second.
Okay.
So they look way nicer and they're way smoother and less nausea inducing, for lack of a
It
better
reminds
term.
me of how they did these bonus stages in the what was it? The newest. It was the newest Sonic.
Right.
Can't not for the life of me remember the name of it. Right
We're
this minute.
talking the newest 2D Sonic?
Yeah.
Is it Generations?
No. Shoot. See, I'm having a sometimes moment.
Superstars.
Sometimes I remember,
Superstars.
sometimes I don't.
Is it the one that just came out this year, the 2D one?
No, not this year. It was the previous one.
Okay, so the 3D one or the 2D one?
The previous 2D one.
Forces, is that it?
No.
I don't know. I don't.
Oh, well. I'm sure as we end the broadcast, we'll think of it right in there. It's like, why didn't I see it then?
Somebody can correct us, because we're not all-knowing. We're just we're just two guys who like video games, that's all.
Heck yeah.
No, not experts in the least. But I got to say, what a well-done hack. And
Sonic Mania. I just remembered it.
Oh, Sonic Mania. Yeah.
Yeah.
This makes the game feel like Sonic Mania to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's Sonic Mania has, like, I've long said it's my favorite Sonic game because it's a Sonic game for today.
Mm-hmm.
And as a new player approaching it, I can approach it in a way that's sort of made for now.
That was really awesome. Takes advantage of modern gaming sensibilities too, I think.
For sure. So, I mean, that's all I got to say about Sonic A.I.R. Angel Island Revisited, except please try it. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it, Kirb.
Absolutely. I'll have to try it at some point, yes.
Yeah, so you can get that game at, where is it? I have the website here. Sonic A.I.R. Sonic3air.org.
Nice.
All right, well, that's all I got for Sonic. What do we have next?
So I decided to do something that when I first told you, caught you quite a bit off guard, because I think, because you didn't think, I didn't think that I would ever rise to the occasion to want to try this, and I decided to play a Kaizo Mario game. For the first time.
Not to correct you too hard, but I remember suggesting that you try it out because I would love to see your impressions of it.
You are correct about that, because I remembered you telling me about, I believe, this exact hack that I tried. And decided, what the heck? At some point, I might as well try it and see what it's about.
Right. So you played. I can see you played one called. And sorry, we'll get it on the screen because I want to watch you play as we talk about it.
Get to watch the struggle bus.
Heck yeah.
Yes.
I played Learn to Kaizo, and this one's called To Learn to Kaizo, and I think what that means is it's just like an updated version of it.
I think so. Yeah. This is by Blue Ribbon High Life. I don't know if that name is familiar or not. This was released last year, 2022, so 2 years ago.
Right.
So I think it follows in the vein of Learn to Kaizo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, I'm actually enjoying myself. I thought it was just going to be a complete drag, but even when I'm failing, I'm actually just like, okay, what did I do wrong this time? What did I do?
Right. So okay, just in case there's anyone who doesn't know what Kaizo is, or like, can we just get a little a briefing of Kaizo and how it relates to Mario and ROM hacking?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'll just fill people in. Kaizo is a style of Mario gameplay that uses item abuse, tricks that are very precise, and it basically abuses the physics and the level components of originally Super Mario World, but now it could be applied to any Mario to make it more difficult and in a way more fun, because it's a different style of play. It's less explore and see and battle enemies. It's more like Tony Hawk, right? You're trying to do tricks, but
more obstacle coursey kind of. Yeah.
So what is To Learn to Kaizo?
Well, To Learn to Kaizo is kind of in its own way a tutorial of sorts. for playing a lot of different Kaizo games.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you a good overall curriculum of different techniques to try, and they do that in the form of levels, basically kind of getting your hands dirty, so to speak.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it doesn't throw you off into the deep end. That's what I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Literally, the first level you can play is literally where you just run, and you learn, the best techniques on where to jump or what's the best time to jump. And then as you get past that, you choose what you want to play at your own pace. Like every level, you could literally try and skip to the end of the entire game if you wanted to do that, or you can just play whichever one you read at your own pace.
I like that style of
like.
hack. I noticed that one of my favorite hacks, Sure Shot, does that.
Okay.
And well, their sort of idea for that was this was being released kind of like a record, like an album, and you can when you buy an album, you can go to any track at any time. You can skip ahead. And so and I guess in the sense of a tutorial, it's like some tricks you'll already know. Like everyone knows, maybe everyone knows about P speed and what you can spin jump on, but maybe everyone doesn't know how to do a shell jump or a block dupe or a key jump or something like that.
Yeah, most of the techniques that were being taught in the game that I was playing up to, were stuff I'd never tried before, never done before, or realized that I could do.
So,
and it was like a whole new season of discovery for me.
For what examples of those do you have? Like, what tricks did you think were like, oh, I can never do that, but now you're like, I already know how to do that.
Okay, one of the things was slope jumping.
Okay,
so when you're sliding down, and you don't want to hit like left or right. Right away, because it'll take away your momentum. Even if you're trying to go one way forward, it kills your momentum. And same thing with being shot out of a cannon. You don't want to press left or right to keep your momentum going, and then you jump to off a platform and keep your momentum going.
I remember when I learned those tricks. The halcyon days of 2016. Cool.
Yeah. One of the techniques, though, I did already know. This is from way back when I was playing Super Mario World. Was pushing up to go when you're in a swimming level, and you push hold up, and then you press B, and you swim up really fast. I did know that already.
Or hold down.
Some of the more simpler techniques I got in like one shot.
Or hold down to swim, like to not go up. So you can avoid
to not
going
go
into
up or go up as quickly.
Right. How far did you get in this?
So it breaks it up into like 8 or 9 or 10 or so sections. I think I got to like section 5 or 6, so about halfway.
Can you shell jump yet?
Finish every one of them per section.
Yeah.
And they even have a separate level on each level where you can test out all the amalgamations of that technique on that on that one level to kind of give a little kind of a pop quiz of what you've learned.
Right, because if it's like the original Learn to Kaizo, every level is for the most part just one trick.
Right.
Or one trick in a few different ways, and then the last level in the world would be sort of like an exam type thing where you're going to have to put it all together into a level, into a run, basically. Yeah. Can you did you learn how to do a shell jump yet?
I hadn't actually gotten that.
Curb, I want you to try that. Because once you get it, it feels so cool to do. It's like
what I got stuck on before I stopped was key jumping.
Key jumping's tough.
Yes, it is difficult
because you got to press both buttons at these on the same frame, right?
Yeah, I was able to do it with the what was it, the shiny blocks that you
grab blocks,
grab blocks, yeah. But I hadn't quite mastered the key.
Oh, here we are. You're about to do it. You're about to try it in the video.
Yeah, I've seen it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I meant was what I got stuck more so on was key jumping like midair.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's yeah.
tough.
As you see,
I
there's
struggle
different
with that.
sections, and that little ship on the left is kind of
Mhm.
your test for the techniques you learned
Right.
on that line.
Right. So,
Yeah,
and like you had experience with Mario, like vanilla Mario.
absolutely.
Played a lot of
So
that.
I played the Super Mario World since I was a kid, so it's somewhat familiar territory. But then the game quickly makes you realize how much you don't know.
Yeah. Now, uh, like if you're like, I don't know if you feel this way, but when I started doing Kaizo, it's like this is not even like it doesn't feel like vanilla Mario. Like even though it's the same move set, like just the objectives just feel like a completely different thing. Where like you know, uh, I'm just trying not to die but like every time I do a trick that is more advanced, like I just feel like just a rush of adrenaline, just like, wow, I'm
Right,
doing it.
right. And this game will teach you quickly um, that you what reaction times you had as a kid that you try to apply now doesn't always apply.
Uh-huh.
I had to learn, different ways of holding the controller to do new things. It's something I
Yeah.
have never done with Super Mario World before.
Have you did you when you played vanilla SMW, were you using like both run buttons?
No, I was using primarily the Y button for run and the B
Yeah.
button for jump.
Yeah, because I had to learn, you need to make use of both run buttons or else you're gonna have a
Mm,
hard time. Like, because otherwise you have to, because you're gonna have to use two parts of your thumb for two different buttons at some point. I don't know if you like, I'm pretty sure that's just a standard Mario thing where you're holding down run with one part of your thumb and then you're jumping with the other.
you're kind of
Yeah,
rolling it downwards. Yeah.
yeah. But like when you have to spin jump, you can't just go you can't go across the controller as easily, so you have to use the other run button to like the X button, as it were,
Yeah.
so you can spin jump with the A.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so overall, you had a good time.
I had a great time.
Yeah.
Like even if I was struggling at some point, it's like, okay, with this, it's simple, it's set up, it's been play tested. I must be doing. I'm like, I got to be doing something wrong or something, you know. And then let me start over. There was definitely times where I'm like, am I doing this wrong? Am I not understanding the instructions? Several times I had to go back and read the instructions just to kind of get a better
Yeah.
understanding of what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then other times I'm recognizing that, hey, I've got an issue with my reaction time and I need to improve on that.
That
So
sounds
I'm kind of experimenting every time.
sounds like a very diplomatic assessment of playing a Kaizo game.
Yeah.
But okay, if we're talking from like green to sort of more of a lime to sort of a yellow,
Mhm.
orange, red, where is the frustration meter
The frustration meter,
for you when you're playing this stuff?
uh, more of a
Is it pretty
lime green
chill?
to yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's basically where I like to live in the Kaizo zone, but like
Really? Okay.
when you play harder hacks, like like for me, it just brings it right into red at some point. Just like, fuck this hack.
Yeah, screw this.
How dare they? But uh, it's like it's sort of like denying denying the sort of exhilaration of victory for longer just makes you want to, it makes you crave it more.
Mhm.
And ultimately it just feels more just heavier when you finally beat the level.
Right.
That's what I found. I don't know. So what's your roadmap for Kaiser? You gonna keep doing it?
I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm probably gonna probably stream this more as I play it. I want to beat this whole Kaizo because I want to learn all the techniques.
You want to
Then I want to try more
learn to
Kaizo.
Kaizo?
It's
Yeah,
got me.
nice.
It's got me a little bit interested.
Well, I hope you do. And there's a lot of great beginner hacks that I know and that I can recommend and that other people know. So I hope to see you playing lots of hacks in 2024.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. What have we next?
Well, you wanted to talk about retro achievements, all commonly referred to in our little parlance as Chivos.
Let's talk about Chivos. Okay.
Mhm.
I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, and we've sort
Yeah.
of danced around it because a lot of people in the retro streaming community
Mhm.
use Chivos as sort of like a goalpost and sort of a way to frame their gameplay because,
Yeah.
a lot of people have played Castlevania 3, for the last couple decades, but are looking for maybe a new challenge. So maybe they'll try it deathless, and maybe they'll try it with minimal items and or just the base weapon. Um, and that's great. And people have been doing that since these retro games were first released. Um, but a couple developments have happened. Modern games like
Mhm.
you know I have an PlayStation 5,
Mhm.
and that's my first PlayStation, like modern PlayStation, and I've gotten really into the trophies and the platinum stuff, and just trying to like finish every one of these trophies for games that I really like all the Yakuza games. I'm trying to do that with, trying to get the
Nice.
plat, as they say. um And so a community got together and started retro achievements to basically bring that model of achievement in modern games back to retro. So you can take a game like Castlevania 3 and then get like, maybe you'll get an achievement every time you beat a boss. Maybe you'll get
Nice.
achievement when you beat the game.
Mhm.
But if you want to get all of the achievements, then you have to maybe finish only using this weapon or not dying or maybe one CCing the game where you don't continue. Um, and, you know, I have very few games that I would ever want to do that with, but all the games that I grew up with, the NES games that are sort of my bread and butter, like we're
Yeah.
talking Contra, Bionic Commando, Goonies 2, Jackal, all those like classic Mega Man 2, even all those classic games, it's appealing to me to want to try and get those Chivos. So I've started doing this, well, let me show you some gameplay actually, because I've been doing
Sure.
it with Goonies 2, one of my favorite games, and a game that like, I'm hesitant to even stream because like not a lot of people have played it. Well, I mean, comparatively speaking,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like a what is this game? And it's like it's such an acquired taste because it's so obscure. Like there's not really a way to figure it out other than to just trial and error this game. And I'm notorious for hating trial and error, but when you do it from childhood, it becomes nostalgia, which
Mhm.
I hate to say, but I love it. So
Nothing wrong with
anyway,
that.
retro achievements. It I originally was like, oh, can I use this with my consoles, with maybe like the EverDrives and stuff, the flash carts that I have? It
Mhm.
only works with emulators because it
Okay.
uses the base ROMs as the sort of it sort of snoops into the memory to see what you've done in the game.
Okay,
And
so it's reading the ROM basically to determine
yeah,
if you've done a particular achievement.
yeah. And maybe not a
Okay.
lot of people know this. Maybe some do. I'm sure some do. But I certainly didn't. It's built into RetroArch.
Yeah, I have experimented a little bit with retro achievements, but I haven't really committed to retro achievements.
Right. Yeah. So I decided to try check it out with Goonies, and it took a while to get going because I thought I had my username and password in right, but
Oh,
for some reason it wasn't logging me in. So I just went on some forum and I found a fix for it. And then like when my first Chivo popped, I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. This is just like me playing on a modern console.
nice.
Yeah, so I've been slowly picking away at Goonies 2, as you'll see, and it's really like breathed new life into this game for me, like a game that I've played and completed so many times, but now it's like I want to get all the Chivos, because there's some things that it's taught me. Like, I didn't know that I thought there was just one bomb box and one Molotov firebox in the game, but there's actually 4 for each. And one of the Chivos is collect all 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's taught me something about the game that I didn't know.
But were a lot of the achievements that you were looking at, was there, I assume there's a list that you can look up. Like, what kind of achievements are this? Are there any that seemed like, oh, that's easy, I can get, or I know where to look for this or that?
Much like on like the PlayStation or Xbox or Steam, when you play a modern game, you'll just naturally pick up some of these Chivos, like rescue the first Goonie. That's one Chivo. And like, if as long as you keep playing the game and you find this, like if you progress through the game, they're just going to keep unlocking. And a lot of them are just item based, because there's a few items you can pick up, like the boomerang and the slingshot and the hyper shoes and the super jump shoes. And so a lot of those just will unlock naturally, but some of them, like I didn't even know. Like, okay, let me talk about the boomerang, because there's a thing that always annoyed me about Goonies 2, where the big thing that connects 2 of the main parts of the map is a giant bridge, and on the bridge there's these little sort of like flying kind of like helmets. They look like flying gray helmets. And if you have the boomerang equipped, which is a great weapon for like attacking enemies at long distance, they can just come and grab that weapon, and you no longer have that weapon.
They just come and yoink it.
Yeah, they'll yoink it out of
confiscate it from you,
out of the air, or just out of your hands, and then you have to go back where you originally found it and grab it again.
Okay.
So the Chivo that I struggled with for a while was cross the bridge while wielding the boomerang, but never losing it. And I didn't even know that was possible.
Like you knew that when you crossed the bridge, as you were younger, when you crossed the bridge, you knew you were going to lose the boomerang.
Yeah, just never equip it when you're crossing.
Did you ever think it was like scripted into the game itself to take it from you?
No. It's just like sort of an asshole thing that the enemies do. But yeah, it's super fun to pick away at these Chivos. And I first learned about them by watching the great streamer Throg.
About to say Throg.
Throg is so hardcore. And speaking of hardcore, there's a thing called, like, you can play these games for your Chivos in either softcore or hardcore mode. And what that means is softcore is just like regular, fire up the emulator. You can use save states if you need to a point, I think. But hardcore sort of it turns off. You don't have the ability to use save states anymore in your emulator. So it's just like playing on like the original console.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you got to be good.
You got to get good, scrub, or you're not getting anything.
But what's cool is like it doesn't force you to do hardcore mode. You can do softcore mode. And you get the same, you just get an extra set, like, kind of points if you do something in hardcore mode. And beside the achievement, it'll say hardcore in the leaderboards.
Oh, nice! You get that extra ability to gloat. It's like, hey, I completed this in hardcore mode.
If you want, I mean, you don't have to gloat about it. That's your choice. But yeah, basically, get these Chivos as you want. And there's a community that keeps on top of them, and if there's a bug in one of them, because they're really just snooping into the memory of these games and figuring out which flags are set, and there's some logic that goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people will find a way that I got this Chivo but it didn't hit, so they're constantly monitoring that, and yeah, adding new Chivos for games as they get released.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how they come up with some of these achievements. Like, is it submitted by like a group of people appointed to kind of making them, or is it community polls? Or
you can suggest them.
Oh.
You can suggest them, but I think just a lot of them have just been sort of set in stone from time.
Mm,
And yeah, they it's just a really it's a creative process, I think.
nice.
And you can really tell that they've been created by people who love these games, who know, what is significant to do in this game, you know?
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, like, you know a lot about retro games, and I'm sure
Mhm.
you're already a master at some of these games, like Earthbound or
Yeah.
F-Zero.
Mhm.
Would you ever consider trying to master one of those games?
I think so. I think that would be a great challenge.
I'm going to give
One
you.
thing I'd probably try F-Zero, maybe even Pilot Wings.
I was going to say you might want to start with some, like, I feel like you could do a really you could do a lot of damage in Turtles in Time.
That's another one I would like to try that with too.
Yeah, that would be a cool one to see. Um, any questions? Any other things we should talk about with Chivos?
Um, no, so one thing I did want to ask is like you like do they base kind of these retro achievement entries on like the PlayStation, or they base it kind of like how the Xbox 360 had it with like points and stuff?
Well, I never really played Xbox 360, but there are points.
Okay.
So I mean, it does have that uh, sort of mindset with the
Okay.
points. But
There's
yeah, I
kind of a
mean,
score.
I guess it's yeah, like there's a leaderboard for who has the most points.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So Throg is I checked. I'm like, where's Throg in this business? And he's like top 300 esque ish.
Nice.
So he's like in the top 0.6% of all
Oh,
people on the site. So
very
he's just got
nice.
so
Very
many
nice.
just from streaming for so long and just working so hard at these games. And I'm like, now that I know what it is to master a game, like I'm super impressed by anyone who
Hmm.
takes the time to get these Chivos, and also like so grateful for the community who created this new way to enjoy um the games we love from childhood.
Very nice.
All right. Well, shall we move on to the last order of business?
I think we should.
Nice. So what I want to do is I really want to talk about 2023 because not only has a year in our lives passed, but a year in this podcast has passed.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So looking back on 2023, I feel like we could do a nice little recap of like our favorite this and that. And I came up with a few little categories that maybe we can share our thoughts on our favorite stuff that happened in our gaming lives and in the retro community. Favorite games, new and old for 2023,
Yeah.
and then maybe we'll look ahead to 2024.
I think that's a great idea. When you suggested this to me, I got really excited because I got to dig deep into the year, and man, like I've achieved quite a bit.
Yeah.
Let's pull out some of my favorites and so on.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about some contenders, and I'll tell you what my number one is for each of these
Okay.
categories. So we're gonna start with best retro first plays. So these are retro games that we tried for the first time
Right.
last year,
Hmm.
2023, and I've got a lot of them because I actually played more games last year. I did a little count, and there are a couple dozen. Like I just the ones I streamed. There's all those black box games, and then a bunch of other NES and SNES games. The ones I had the most fun with, there's some really surprising ones in the black box games. Clue Land. It looked like such a chore when I first started, but I think it's one of my favorite NES games. It's so
Nice.
simple. Clue
Yeah.
Land. Gumshoe was another one. Like, you remember that one? It's sort of
I
the one.
remember watching it.
It's a
Yeah.
platformer where you shoot the gun to jump.
Right.
It's just so weird.
Right. So
Uh,
good.
And pro wrestling was the other one from
Pro wrestling, yes.
Yeah.
Like you figured out some quick dirty tricks in that game, I think too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you have to. Just like real wrestling. You got to it's all about the dirty tricks.
Oh yeah.
Other ones that I played for the first time. Can you believe that I had never played Doom?
Yes, that's
to completion.
right.
So that was super fun. And then NES Open, the golf game, I competed in a tournament with put on by the Renaissance.
Nice.
Learned how to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like, I'm still a beginner, but like that game is so complex. There's so much to it. And I had so much fun playing it. But I got to say, the two that stuck out, runner up would have to be Blaster Master, which we had talked about playing for a while.
We've both played it, yeah.
Yeah, we both played that. But the number one for me, Castlevania 3. I can't believe I'd waited so long to play it. It's so excellent. Like, I can't say enough good things about that game. The music, the combat, the weapons, the art style. But what's funny is like I was in Jimmy Chonga's stream, the great Jimmy Chonga, one of my greatest Twitch friends and my most watched stream of last year.
Yep.
He was like, you know what game I hated? Castlevania 3.
He was just talking about that the other night.
Yeah. So my favorite, I would say Castlevania 3. It was close, but that one to me just sort of captivated me in a way that I completed that game with every character.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, as far as for me, I didn't play a lot of retro video games for the first time this year, but one did stick out to me, and it was one that you recommended to me.
Right.
And I played on stream, and we were digging up some memories with you too when I was playing this.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Wow.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Yeah. So it was surprising. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it all too much. Like, I almost resigned myself to the fact, it's a PS1 game. The controls are probably clunky. No, it's surprisingly slick. Just a matter of, the problem was more with my timing of things than it was the controls. So, yeah, I had a great time with it.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super
yes,
cool.
It was so great. I was kind of, enjoying just the ridiculousness of the tricks that I could pull off once I started getting the controls down. And then once I got the controls down more and more as I kind of experimented, then things kind of took off from there. And I was just hopping around like an idiot, doing what I could just to try things.
So
and I think that's the great thing about this game is you get to try things that it's like, oh, that won't work.
Yeah,
but maybe that'll work.
So we're gonna see some more. Are you gonna play some more in 2024?
That's part of what I want to do is play more. I might play some more Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Maybe another game in the series.
There's some really good ones. Yeah, even the modern one is excellent. The 1 and 2 remake that they put out a few years ago is like
nice.
That might, in some ways, that's the best one in the series.
Well, shoot, that's something that might be on my bucket list.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about stinkers. Any retro games that you tried this year that you're like, I can't believe this got made. This is horrible. What do people see in this game? Or just like this game frustrated me to no end.
Yes, and there was one that kind of made me have a mix of why was this even made?
Right.
Like, I see why people might enjoy it, but there was this game does not need to have been made. And that was F-Zero GP Legend. It is made, it is for the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
It was released close to another game in the series called F-Zero GP Legend. I think it takes place in the same universe as like the animated series, the anime series.
Right.
And it was a Japanese only release. So it never got released in the West, but I wanted to try it. And I think it's possible that I am just spoiled on the SNES version or other versions, because this game, and I think GP Legend to an extent, just controls way too differently to be fun. Like, what you think might be an easy, drift around a hairpin does not turn into a hairpin turn that you can execute well. Just sends you into the wall, and it just frustrates me.
So is that experience or is that bad game design?
I think it's both. I think it's just. I mean,
not to say you're a bad gamer. It's not your fault. Yeah. It's just like it's sometimes some games are harder to master.
Yeah, and it's just the mechanics don't make sense. Like I'm constantly having to mash the A button, like press it repeatedly, just to keep myself in control, to keep from slipping so easily. And that's even in the game manual to do. It's like you shouldn't have to. You should be able to, like, if you're gonna make a hairpin, turn. Yes, there is some. There are some techniques in the original game where you can mash the A button and help try and keep your speed, mind you. But to keep yourself stabilized well, like the way it's implemented in this, no, it's just not fun. And the computer cheats even more than the original games do too. It's just frustrating. And the announcer, oh my god, the announcer needs to be quiet. Like I could be way out in the lead on a particular race. And the moment that the computer starts getting even just closing the gap just a little bit, the computer just shouts at you like, "You're about to lose your lead." I'm like, I am so far away. Be quiet.
Wow. Well, remind me never to play that one.
Yeah.
But I feel like that would be my experience in every F-Zero game.
Well, yeah, the announcer really only started in F-Zero X, so thankfully it wasn't even in the original.
Well, you know what? They can't all be good games.
Nope.
Somebody I know, I forget who, I think it might have been Contra or somebody else, was like, there are really only about 5 good retro games, like when we're looking at it objectively.
Okay.
I played a few stinkers myself. Back to the black box games, stuff like 10-yard fight, where it's like, how is this even a game? Like, this is just like a novelty. Like, you can control a sprite on a screen, and it sort of resembles the game of football. But I think I got through the completion for 10-yard fight in about 10 minutes.
Wow.
And when a game is too basic like that, it just, how it's not even like you have a chance to even hate it. It's just like you feel nothing and you move on. It's
like and it's done, just move on pretty.
Yeah.
It's too easy.
But on the other hand, let's talk about Mock Rider, because I struggled through that game for more than any other black box game. And I finally just gave up. I just thought this game is way too frustrating, and ultimately the juice was not worth the squeeze to put in the time to master that game, because it demands just like perfection at all times, and gives you nothing. Like, if you get hit once, you lose all your power-ups.
It's like there's no room for making an error. There's no way for you to come back if you make a single mistake, and it's just like, nope, you're done, and we're going to punish you for it.
And which is, a lot of games are like that, but it's way too easy to make a mistake in Mock Rider. It's just so trivial to, like, maybe hit a rock that just came out of nowhere, and you would have about, you'd have less than 10 frames to react if you're counting.
You probably can't react. No one could react in that kind of time.
Yeah. So Mock Rider sucked. And I didn't hate Metal Gear Solid 2 by any means. I thought it was like a really cool game, but it was definitely the most frustrating game I played in 2023, and probably by design, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting, game, Metal Gear Solid. The whole Metal Gear series as a series is very unique, we'll say.
That's for sure. Okay, let's move on. Favorite retro revisit. So here's a game that you played before in childhood, let's say, and or later in life, and revisited it in 2023. And for me, it's actually not like a retro game per se, but it's a modern retro reimagining, and that's Mega Man Maker. I gotta say, like, I played Mega Man Maker the year before, like 2022,
Okay.
and I kind of felt like it was pretty niche, and you had to have a lot of like sort of deep knowledge of the game to really get anything out of it. And I didn't feel like as a new player I was able to learn enough in a short amount of time that it hooked me in. So I just kind of wrote it off. But I started doing the NRS races, which is the No Reset Speedrun League races.
Mm.
Not for like any sort of time standard, but just for fun, just to try these levels, because I'd heard that they were more accessible to new players, and I got to say they were. It feels like a completely different game playing these no reset speedrun games that are just fan, like Mega Man Maker, for those who don't know, is like a fan created uh uh Mega Man engine in which you can build levels with assets from every Mega Man game.
Yeah,
Every yeah,
it's like Mario Maker, but for Mega Man. But it's a community driven and created game
yeah.
for the masses.
Yeah, so that was my retro revisit. That because I don't actually have a lot of games to revisit from childhood, but that one definitely, like, it was. I'm so glad I gave it another shot.
Very nice.
What do you got for that for retro revisit?
But retro revisit, it is one that's been with me since the first time I ever got a Super Nintendo, and it's one that I still revisit from time to time. I started doing Ninja Turtles 4 speedruns,
Oh,
and I
nice.
revisited that during 2023. Did even better than before, which is great. And then took you for a ride on the speed train.
Carried me. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I got a couple of one of my favorite moments when I was taking on Toka and Razar, and that you'll see it in a clip if you ever go to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/the Kirblet, where I just basically just uh, after a unique little struggle at the beginning, just start taking them out one by one without them getting off anything. Like it's just a quick boom, 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 and they're down. So,
Nice.
seeing stuff like that, just, it just makes replaying that, revisiting that so worth it. It's so great.
Just the feeling, I guess, that you haven't
Yes.
lost it, and that all the years of playing that game have not been for nothing.
Right. I'm still learning new stuff every day.
That's really cool. Nice. So what do we got next? We have favorite ROM hack. I played a
Yes.
bunch of ROM hacks this year. A lot of them are just I want to learn about these things so we can talk about them on the show.
Right.
But yeah, like some of them were just just I saw other people playing them, and I'm like, I think I'd have fun playing this game.
Yeah.
So definitely Sure Shot, which is not a 2023 hack, but Sure Shot, a Kaizo ROM hack created by allegedly Maddie and Margot, and it features Sonic the Hedgehog as the main sprite instead of Mario. And it like the concept is, as I said before, it was released like an album that you can play the levels in any order, and then there's a B-sides like Celeste,
Mhm.
which are just sort of reimaginings of these same levels, a banging soundtrack, and like the concept is really long levels with many checkpoints, so you're always feeling like you're making progress.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I thought it was just an excellent, a lot of hacks are difficult for difficult sake.
Mhm.
But this one, it gives you the ability to play a difficult hack but learn as you go. And then maybe if you want to try it without checkpoints, there's an option to disable checkpoints.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that it's pretty neat.
Kind of a choose your own difficulty.
Yep. So I think it's just like a very thoughtful, well created, and well executed hack, and that was my favorite. But I also will shout out Mega Man Maker again, which I guess is in a way a ROM hack. Like it almost
In a
feels
way.
like a ROM hack, but The one that we tried recently, Super Mario 64 Co-op Deluxe.
Yes. That actually happened. That actually is my favorite ROM hack this year.
I thought it might be.
Yeah, it really was. The moment I saw it, I was browsing through Twitter.
Yeah.
And I just happened to see this random thing that was recommended to me. And I'm like, what is this? And then I saw the trailer and I watched it. I'm like, when does it come out? I have to play this right now. And it's like, it's not released yet. It's like, but when? It's like a couple of days. I'm like, I am a day one. I'm playing this that day. And then we played it for the first time after a recent podcast.
Yeah.
And I think you and I had a ball with this. Like it's the net code is done really well.
Yep.
The gameplay is just as I remember it. I had no issues with it. I want to play more of it.
Well, what do you say we get a little community together and start playing the game? Like maybe we'll pick one night every couple weeks, and I'll get on there, and we can either do co-op through the main game or play the battle royale mode.
I think that sounds like a plan.
Mode.
I think that sounds like a plan. We could, because this game can support up to 16 players at once in a room.
It's super
which
cool.
is great.
It's super cool.
And it just runs well. There's no problems with it right from the get-go. I'm like, there'll probably be more things added to it too. It's just great.
Yep. Anything else?
No other ROM hacks that actually no. There was the F-Zero ROM hacks that I tried this year that were really fun. Yeah, nice. that was really great. I'm still trying to beat Nebula Highway.
Yeah.
Again, some of those tracks are just borderline unfair, but I'm getting better at it as time goes by.
So let's move on to favorite remastered retro game. So this is a game that has been given a new coat of paint and a new lease on life. And I'm pretty sure I know which one you're going to say.
Okay, well let's have you make the guess here.
Well, it's got to be our Super Mario RPG. Is it not?
Oh, the remastered retro. Yeah, it was Super Mario RPG. I thought you were talking about like a remastered like retro. But yeah, Super Mario RPG is definitely the top one. That's a childhood favorite. And it's just this remaster is a complete love letter to the original in so many ways.
Yeah. It looks great.
But yeah, if you've never played Super Mario RPG, I would say give this one a go. You will not be disappointed. My other pick, though, would actually be an HD retexture, the HD Metroid. If you remember me talking about this on the podcast,
right?
Where it's kind of it's an emulation only thing where it gives this particular texture pack gives the map, gives it a map where it never had on the NES original. That was really cool to just see something like that be possible. With an HD texture.
Awesome. Well, I mean, most of the remastered retro that I've played were fan remasters, like the Sonic 3 one. I mean, I played it right at the end of the year, but like it really captivated me. Dragon Quest V, which I've been playing, we've talked about that. I don't need to talk about that anymore. But I just love playing that game with those extra textures and high resolutions, and Portal, of course, Portal RTX, super cool. I love how they've been able to take a new feature that graphics cards have now and apply it to old games, because there's a way to get back there now with
ray traced, great ray traced coat of paint.
So let's move on. Favorite new retro hardware. So retro adjacent stuff. Anything that you were enthralled by in 2023?
Yes, absolutely. And it's one I do not have, only because I can't really afford it right now. And that would be the RetroTink 4K.
That was my answer.
we are both in agreement then. The RetroTink 4K, I think, is a game changer.
Yeah,
like
I think so too.
the king of upscalers may have been dethroned, and I am talking about the Framemeister, of course. The king of scalers may
Yeah.
have been dethroned by this thing now
Yeah.
because it just works so well.
I'm gonna get one eventually, and I think I'm not gonna even use it for streaming because the OSSC has just always done a great job for me.
Mhm,
But I'm gonna use it for my living room because I want to play. I want to play on my big screen TV in the living room,
mhm.
sitting on the couch, and with the CRT filters and all the upscaling options like 4K upscaling. Um, it basically gives you the vibe of CRT in a way that isn't just a cheesy emulation. It just feels
Mhm.
like the game
Yeah, and
as these games are meant to be played.
played, enjoyed, and looked at on a screen
Yeah,
too. I think that it's
yeah,
just it's so good right out of the box.
yeah.
And that's kind of what you want because when you sell it, because they sold out immediately when it was released. And I don't think even Mike Chi, who developed this, I don't think he realized how popular this is going to get
Oh,
that
I think he
quickly.
did. I think he very much did. Absolutely.
But yeah, he'll be putting it more into production as soon as he
Well,
possibly can, so it'll be available
I'll
for the
be
masses.
I'll try again when the next batch releases, as I
Oh yeah, I'll
tried.
be saving my money too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, for what you get, it's a lot of money, but
Mhm.
it's something that I think will last at least 10 years. And the cost per use goes down,
Exactly.
exponentially over time.
Hmm.
The one thing that I'll say, and I know this isn't such a new, I think it was released a couple years ago, but the Analog Pocket is something that I never thought that I'd be into. But I like the fact that you can play Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games,
Yeah,
and also it has a dock so you can play them on a big screen.
isn't that neat?
I think that's pretty cool. So I've sort of hemmed and hawed about the analog stuff because
It's very niche market.
well, it's like Apple stuff, right? Like it's high quality, but it's a walled garden, right? So like the FPGA
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
that they're using, it's sort of the opposite of like the Mister, which is
Mhm,
like an open source project where people are constantly making new cores for it. Whereas the
mhm.
analog is just like, here's a plug and play solution for your favorite old games on modern TVs, and I have the Super NT. Um,
So do I. Yep.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like I might get a pocket because it'd be fun to play those games on the go as well. I just get a couple flash carts and
Mhm.
Bob's your uncle.
Right, right. And the thing is, it's not that wall, so to speak, is being kind of chipped away at thanks to the community.
Sure.
They are coming up with the hardware firmware updates that'll unlock more versions of excuse me of what you can play on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we're both in agreement that the RetroTink sort of is it was the release, the hardware release of 2023, and
It was definitely the highlight of
yeah,
2023. Absolutely.
yeah. Any let's move on to the next one. I thought this was kind of an interesting thing to ask. Who is your favorite retro content creator
Oh
of
man, there's so good
2023?
ones. Like when you say retro content creators, are we talking about like
Not
people who play the
streamers, not
games?
not people who play. There's a separate streamer
Mhm. Oh, yeah,
one.
no, no, no. Yeah, we're talking about, like, are you talking about people who just, make content related to the games
Yeah,
themselves or
people
the
who make
different aspects?
videos. People who talk about retro games.
Okay. I think, um, the one for me, and these are people who I respect in this, community a lot. My Life in Gaming
Of
has released
course.
some really good
Yeah,
video games this year, some videos this year.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Those two
and
are just, they're so dedicated. They've been around for a while, and
10 I think it was about 10 years, I think, if not a
mhm,
little bit less,
mhm. Yeah, I've
that
been
they've been
watching them
doing this.
for quite a while.
Yeah.
Corey and Try, are they? I
Ori
forget.
and
Yeah,
Try. Yep.
yeah, super cool. And yeah, I'll watch them. I'll watch them live stream on YouTube from time to time,
Yeah.
and it's
Oh,
always
I
it's
like
always
them
chill.
so much that anytime they came out with a video, once I realize they've released a video, I'm like, I am my priority at that point will be to go and watch the video.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
I'm that dedicated to the releases.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I had them on my list, but somebody that I watched a lot of in 2023 and learned a lot from was Modern Vintage Gamer.
Ooh, I'm also a fan of Modern Vintage Gaming's channel.
MVG, yeah, like
MVG.
and there was some really interesting topics that he talked about this year.
Mhm.
The one thing that just came out was somebody, because he is like, he works with commercial emulators, he works with modernizing retro games, and has a lot of connections with people who have worked on those things and do work on those things. So he was alerted recently to an exploit, sort of a hidden feature of Alien Resurrection for the PS2.
Nice.
Was it
What
PS2 or
kind
was
of
it
exploit?
PS1? It's one of them. It's like yeah. So basically, you can use that disk if you enter a certain code, and it's a pretty lengthy one.
Okay.
You can use it to, like, the disk drive will stop spinning, and you can then insert a burned CD and play a backup game from that game.
Like a save file?
No, like a copied game on a writable media. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's one thing he talked about. I thought that was super cool, and it was something that was so secret for years. But somebody who worked on the game is like, "Hey, check this out. Enter this code. See what happens." And I also really learned a lot about the PS3 emulation scene, because that's sort of the white whale for emulation. It's
Yeah.
the hardest console to emulate for many reasons, which I didn't understand until I watched some of his videos. And so he was talking about the PS3 emulator having come so far this year,
Mhm.
where I want to say 97% of games are playable or something. Like
Nice.
the vast majority are playable, and
That's
some
really
of them,
cool.
and some of them will play with no glitches or no bugs,
Nice.
which
Like, I
is
remember how PS3 developers always complain about how much of a nightmare it was to work with the processor, the cell
yeah,
processor.
yeah, and there's not a lot of there's not a lot of appropriate enough documentation to really figure it out. So it's been like a closed environment development that's been going on for so many years, and that has made massive breakthroughs this year alone. So I enjoyed hearing about that, and then talking about emulation some more. The Dolphin emulator.
I was just about to suggest that. It's like 90% of the games of GameCube and Wii are not playable on the Dolphin emulator now.
Yeah. And so he talked about specifically with that, because the Dolphin emulator for a brief period was available for download on Steam,
Mhm.
and then Nintendo, they didn't do a DMCA takedown. They did a
Yeah.
sort of like an internal cease and desist between them and Valve, and talked about the ins and outs of that whole scenario.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
pretty crap.
kind of crap, and it's not like it's not like Valve and Nintendo have like this relationship. They're
Mhm.
quite competitors in a way, but I guess Nintendo's a giant company, and when they say, please take this what we consider an illegal thing off of your
Mhm.
website or off of your platform for sale, then Valve listened in this case.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So
But
anyway, MVG, if it wasn't for MVG, I wouldn't know any of that stuff. So Modern Vintage Gamer, looking forward to more content in 2024.
I love it. I love it. I do watch the MVG videos every now and then. Probably not as dedicated as I am like to say My Life in Gaming.
Yep.
But regardless, I do enjoy both of those creators. So if anyone in the audience has never heard of these two, definitely we recommend you give them a follow and look at their content. It's very informative.
For sure. Let's move on. Favorite retro streamer. So like so much of how we interact with retro games or watching people play them while we,
Yeah.
do our laundry or eat dinner or whatever.
Exactly.
I watched probably a lot less of Twitch as most people did, I think, this year than the last couple. Now that, COVID has mostly run its course and people are by and large back to work, back to normal lives. Less of them are cooped up at home. Less of them are working from home.
Right.
So there was a bit of an exodus this year, I gotta say, and a lot of streams kind of quieted down. But I still got a lot of enjoyment watching some of my favorites. Obviously, Jimmy Chonga. I think he embodies the heart of what it is to have grown up playing video games, and he has this very chill and very just innocent sort of attitude towards them, where he wants nothing more than to enjoy them. There's nothing, there's no it's not about creating content. It's about let's enjoy playing these games. Let's enjoy, let's just chill in the Chonga zone, as it were. So Jimmy, of course. I also want to shout out to Proto Shield 15.
Proto Shield.
It meant a lot to me when he said to me once, he's like, "You're the reason I wanted to start streaming," and I'm honored because Proto is blown up and regularly,
deservedly so.
Yeah, it has many viewers watching, and for good reason, because Proto has basically picked some of the hardest things to do in retro, and somehow got through them. Right now, he's working on trying to. No death is it no hit or no death? It's probably no death. Mega Man 1 to 6 consecutively.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
That's insane.
Insane. I wouldn't dare try that with one of those games, let alone 6 back-to-back in a row.
Yeah. And I know Proto was trying to also, I think, like no death Castlevania 3.
He might have done that.
I might have done that?
Yeah,
okay. It was a while back.
Yeah. I know he's done a lot of those crazy achievements. So Proto, I loved watching. Also Throg, of course, for the Chivos, and just the chill vibes in his stream, where it's very relaxed. It's very much about the nostalgia, but not in a like nerdy way, just in a very chill kind of like fun way to enjoy. And I will continue to watch him. And finally, the Renaissance, who not only is a great streamer, a great personality in his own right, plays a lot of really cool retro games and some modern games, but also organized this entire NES Open tournament, which is
nice.
Yeah, a community of retro streamers and enthusiasts who basically live stream a golf tournament, but an NES golf tournament.
Yes. So, you had a good time too with that, even if you didn't win.
I can't wait to do it again. Hopefully I'll be invited back this year.
For sure.
Who do you got? I'm sure you watched a lot of those same people. Anyone else that you were that you enjoyed watching stream this year?
Yeah, definitely Jimmy and Proto. Definitely for sure. Nemed's Attic. I enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So Nemed's does a lot of retro games. Jay Cox, Italian Grandma.
Yeah.
You kind of introduced me to Italian Grandma, and let me tell you, I do enjoy Grandma streams.
How are you enjoying the Earthbound playthrough?
That's great. It's great. Yeah. I'm having a good time with that.
Super cool.
A little bit out of left field, there's another streamer that I have discovered in the past couple of months that I'm kind of addicted to, but I can't always catch his streams because he kind of streams in the morning when I'm at work. And I really more so discover him through like the YouTube Shorts and TikTok. There's a streamer called Pirate Software. This is his name is Thor. He used to work at Blizzard.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and if you have ever seen the South Park episode with that's where it's based around World of Warcraft, and there's the big fat
Yes.
snobby D&D guy that
Right.
just sits at his computer.
Right.
That's based off his dad.
Oh, wow.
Yes, his dad worked at Blizzard for 23 years, doing cinematics,
Huh.
and Matt and Trey Parker based that episode off of him.
Super cool.
Yeah, but he's a game developer, and there's this game that he's made, and I'm kind of interested to take a look at it. It's called Heartbound,
Okay.
kind of a retro style game.
Yep.
Yeah. But he also is a really big advocate for doing game development.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I discovered is that he's made a website where he can kind of show you how to get started on playing games. And it's just great.
A website where you can get started on playing, like, sort
making games.
That? Making games. Oh, that's super cool.
Games.
You said playing games, I thought.
Oh, I did? Oh, my bad.
Maybe I just misheard that. Yeah, but that's really cool. Because I've always been curious on how to start doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a bit of that this year. I was learning how to do Unity, and super interesting to figure out what it is to develop a game. But then Unity came out with that sort of like pay per install sort of thing, and I'm like, you know what? I can't support these guys anymore.
Yeah. So the website is called www.develop.games.
Very cool. Well, I'll check that out for sure. Moving right along, because this is getting pretty long in the tooth, this episode 16 here on the Retro Game Redux podcast. Let's have some shorter answers for our favorite new game.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and say it right now. Tears of the Kingdom is my game of the year. It's so good. It's so good. I'm still playing it.
Yeah, I haven't finished it. That was sort of a I just sort of put it away for a bit because I was playing 12 hours a day sometime, just like waking up and like, well, I have nothing to do today. I'm gonna, just get through like 25 more shrines and find all this armor and all these weapons and whatnot.
It's like it encourages you to be a completionist.
Yeah, in a way that, like, I'm a little bit upset because I like short games. I like games that don't overstay their welcome and that just like maybe give you an ending and have you wanting more. I don't think I'll be wanting more after Tears of the Kingdom because it's sort of it's a big game and it's sort of all things to all people and Nintendo can do that, right? Yeah, I love that game too. Any other ones of note in 2023 for you?
There's already Super Mario RPG. That's for sure.
Well, that's a remake though. I'm talking
that's
like
a remake.
New games.
Yeah, new games. If we're talking about new games this year, one that kind of caught me off guard, but when I saw it, I immediately wanted to play it, and I've played for a while. Vampire Survivors.
Okay, I don't know that one.
The Vampire Survivors is basically a bullet hell, but you are the bullet hell, and you've got to defeat all these enemies that are swarming in around you.
You did tell me about that. Super cool.
Yes, I've played it several times on my channel. And it's so fun, and there's like a lot of replay value, and they're adding more stuff. They keep adding more stuff to it. Like there's a multiplayer DLC you can purchase now for multiplayer in the game.
Wow. Well, dangerous to even think about,
right?
Like playing another game that is constantly expanding.
Exactly.
Like just with the Yakuza games alone, I have so much new game content to keep up with. I have a few favorite new titles from 2023, and for sure, Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name.
Yes, I
think that's like probably one of the best Kiryu Yakuza games. Like it basically, it has a pretty short story. Like there's 4.5 chapters basically. Tons of mini games, all your favorite mini games. An interesting look at sub stories that don't really drag on for too long, and just like a really cool environment. So I had a lot of fun. I got every achievement on the Steam version of that game.
So has it dethroned Yakuza 0 as your favorite Yakuza game?
I like the story in Zero better still, and
Okay.
I love bubble era Tokyo and Osaka. So I will never. It's hard to like. I like them all in different ways. I like them all.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
But besides those games, the new games that I played this year that I really, really loved, Tears of the Kingdom, we talked about.
Yep.
Super Mario Wonder, we've talked about that on
Mhm.
the previous episode. But Hi-Fi Rush, I played that right at the
How
beginning of
was you were
2023.
surprised how much you liked that game.
Oh, it was just right in my zone. Like, it's a rhythm-based platformer, and
Yeah.
like, there's not a game that is more tailored for my tastes than Hi-Fi Rush, and I want to play it again off stream so I can do the licensed music rather than the stream safe music.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, finally, let's talk about goals. What do we want to do in 2024?
Well,
Any
yeah,
I know you've talked about one of the things is starting to stream again.
yes, I need to stream more. I've had a pretty stressful 2023,
For sure.
and I'm not afraid to say it. I did need to get some help with my mental health, and I have taken some of those steps to start, and I'm doing a lot better than I have been before. So that will hopefully allow me to better manage, stress and everything else, and allow me to do some more streaming and manage that a lot better. So
Good for you.
so I have some more free time on my hands.
Good for you. That's amazing. I'm
Yeah.
so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also, one thing I do want to focus on when I start streaming again, when I do play retro games, I want to do more first time playthroughs.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I that's all basically all I do, and yeah, it's never a dull moment.
That's for sure. Yeah, I definitely. The last first playthrough in a while was one of the Mystical Ninja games.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, yeah,
we're probably going to tell each other about the same thing. How there's basically a spiritual successor that just came out in Japan.
wait, what?
Oh, we got two talking points on Mystical
Oh
Ninja.
shoot!
Okay, check out retrorgb.com. There's an article there about a new game that was released. I think it's on Nintendo Switch, and it might be on a PC as well. But it's basically a spiritual successor to the Mystical Ninja game, and it's a 3D game. So it's more like more like the N64 version. And it's basically a journey through Japan where you learn about a lot of fables and lore that actually, like, the game basically
the mythology?
the mythology of Japan, and the game basically takes that and says what if it actually happened?
I'm looking at the trailer now. It's really cool looking.
Yeah.
I like the art style.
Yeah, I'd love to see you play that, because they're working on there's a fan translation hack already in progress, because it's doubtful whether it might get released in English. So hopefully that happens. But what else?
Yeah, so what I was going to say was that, I did suggest, on your channel, to play Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. So, I would love to see you play that during 2024.
Thank you for reminding me. I haven't forgotten. I have a lot of backlog, a lot of retro shame to get through.
That's why I said hopefully.
I think you'll see it. I think there's a pretty safe chance that you'll see it in 2024.
Yeah. So yeah,
nice.
That's definitely something I want to do, is play more first time playthroughs, because I don't want to rely on my in the comfort zone. I got to step out of the comfort zone and try something new, and find the joy in that. So
yeah, that's where the excitement happens, and that's where the new horizons are found.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, not only just first time playthroughs, but even ROM hacks too. I'm going to play more ROM hacks. I'm finding a lot of joy in that. I want to we suggested we should do a community meetup for co-op Mario 64.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep, we'll do it.
I've got some goals as well, I guess.
All right, let's hear them.
So, my thing that I would love to explore in 2024 is more consoles that I haven't tried games from. I'd like to play more like Sega Saturn games, and I have a Dreamcast that I've only really played once on stream, but I'd like to explore some of those games. More PC Engine games as well, because there's so many good PC Engine games.
Yeah,
and the CD games as well.
Is there any particular that catch your interest that you like? You want to try?
Well, the Kojima game, Strikers, I think it's called Strikers DX. That was originally that was on PC Engine, and then some of the Bonk games, Bonk's Adventure. There's a lot of shmup games that are pretty cool, and arguably one of the best Castlevanias.
Yeah, Dracula X, I think it was.
Dracula X, yeah.
Yeah. Like I've heard that like PC Engine was home to a lot of really good shoot 'em ups. That's kind of what it was known for. But I knew there was definitely more titles that needed to be explored with the PC Engine. Also for those who don't know, the PC Engine is basically the TurboGrafx 16. If you're never familiar with the term PC Engine.
Yep. So definitely that. More consoles. I want to finally finish restoring my Amiga 500.
Oh, very nice.
I've got it to boot, but not much more. It turns on, and I can see it. I can see a little like sad disc face in a screen. But yeah, I want to get that going. And finally, I think it's time. It's now or never for me to try and sub 11 Contra. I'm going to start speedrunning that game again in 2024.
Very nice. Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah. And Chivos, of course, that we talked about. And that's all I got. And I want to keep making this podcast with you. So here's to an exciting new year, new horizons, a new home on YouTube, and all of that. Anything else you want to say?
Oh man, cheers to a good friendship too.
Awesome, Curb. Well, yeah,
great. Like this podcast, and not just the podcast, but just getting to know each other. It's just a pleasure to have you as a friend.
Likewise, man. Likewise.
All right.
Okay,
well, I think that's going to do it for us here on the Retro Game Redux podcast. We'll be back next week, next Monday here on our YouTube channel that we'll be now fully broadcasting full time on now. So look forward to future episodes live on YouTube. Scuba, do you have anything you want to add?
We'll try and keep it under 2 hours next time.
Yeah, this is kind of a recap.
It's almost at 2 right now. Yeah, so yeah, we'll be back next week. I can't wait to talk about more retro stuff, more reimagined, modernized retro stuff. And please check us out at retrogameredux.com if you haven't already. You can subscribe to our podcast on pretty much anywhere you get podcasts, and now you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And there will be a live chat if you want to say something, and if we get some interest, we'll definitely open it up for discussion on some of these topics.
Absolutely.
So until then, Curb, I just want to say a happy New Year, happy 2024, and please keep on gaming.
And a happy New Year to you too, and don't forget, keep on gaming.
Bye-bye.